May I ask you to join us, so me and Ukrainian friends, for the next panel. And I ask my panelists to join me, Olga, Maria, and Alona. So first of all, also using a bit the time that everybody returns, I would like to introduce briefly the European Center for Press and Media Freedom. This panel takes place as the first time cooperation between the European Center for Press and Media Freedom, Kyiv Dialogue, and the donors of Kyiv Dialogue. For me, it's an honor as one of the founding members of Kyiv Dialogue and one of the members of the executive board of the European Center of Press and Media Freedom. I'm happy that we found this opportunity for cooperation. The European Center for Press and Media Freedom sits in Leipzig. It was an initiative 15 years ago, roundabout, by the Medienstiftung Leipzig, connected to the Sparkassenstiftung Leipzig, and some European, not only German journalists. Uli Jörges is one of the known figures as a journalist who initiated this initiative in Leipzig. And 10 years ago, there was a breakthrough for this European Center in Leipzig, because in Brussels, we had an all-party alliance, all-faction alliance, CDU, Social Democrats, Liberals, and Greens in the European Parliament. And we decided that this European Center shall become one of the European mechanisms to detect, to research, and to react to violations of media freedom in the European Union. We are doing this since 10 years, as I said, but don't fear that I continue to explain you now what ECPMF is doing. But we have one project since 2022. I'm very proud that we managed to establish this project. It's called Voices of Ukraine. So it happened that after full-scale invasion in May, I visited Ukraine and I got many reports by friends from civil society, in politics and also in journalism, about the collapse of the media market in Ukraine after full-scale invasion, and about the urgent need to fund Ukrainian media outlets and Ukrainian journalists. And that's what ECPMF is doing since 2022 with this project, Voices of Ukraine. Since then, with the funds not from Brussels, but from Berlin, Auswärtiges Amt and Bundesminister für Kultur und Medien, and coordinating with the Hannah Arendt Initiative, since 2022 we have been able to fund more than 2,000 journalists in Ukraine. We are cooperating with the Lviv Media Forum and with the Public Interest Journalism Lab, based in Lviv and based in Kyiv. And we are happy because this year and next year we still can continue this. What I find an example I always like to mention is from the big money, relatively big money we get from the ministry, we spend only less than 5% in Germany. The rest of the money we spend in Ukraine on the projects we apply for. So, today, in this context of resilience of Ukrainian society, we talked about this since yesterday, we find it a good opportunity to talk about the contributions by courageous journalists who, with their organizations, bigger and smaller ones, contribute a lot to the resilience of Ukrainian society. Because information and trusted information matters in a war situation even more than in peaceful times. And you must simply rely on what you read. If you can't, then you might be trapped in situations which you do not expect. I'm among those from Germany who frequently are visiting Ukraine, also because I like to be in contact with our partner organizations. And so journalists, like many other people not serving in the army, are serving their country in a very important way. Journalists, but also medics, people who are running the schools, running kindergartens, running public transport, running public administration, they are behind the army, holding the line. And every morning I'm checking, probably like many Ukrainians, what happened yesterday night, yesterday day, during the day, and during the last night. And again, last night, I saw that we have to face many losses. We thought about having a moment of silence to remember the 116 media workers killed since the war began against Ukraine. But I think this minute of silence is also for all the others, the army and all the others holding the line for all of us. Please get up for a moment of silence. I thank you. Дуже дякую. So to introduce the panel, I will be very brief. Our idea is to give you an impression about the work of media experts, people who defend media freedom on the national level, the regional level, and the local level. And we will begin with Olga Myrovic. Olga is representing the Lviv Media Forum. She is the CEO of the Lviv Media Forum. The Lviv Media Forum is, or was, from my experience, the most important media and journalists conference, not only for Ukraine, but for Eastern Europe. Until the war, and it restarted after a corona interruption. It restarted its work, its conference work, once a year in 2023. And I think I can say it with full conviction that the annual Lviv Media Forum is really contributing to the strengths of Ukrainian media organizations, media platforms, newsrooms, and each and every journalist who still works in Ukraine. Please, Olga.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone who joined our discussion. I would like to give you a general overview of what Ukrainian media sector looks right now after the full-scale invasion started, and now almost 4 years in it. So I would maybe start with the statement that the war situation, and we have always keep it in mind, is a situation of lack of resources of all kinds. So Ukrainian media found themselves in the front line of both informational and physical war in February 2022. Many journalists had to take a very hard decision whether to stay in the profession or to join the army, or to act as loving family members and save their children. Many media outlets had to move to more safe Ukrainian regions to continue their work for the sake of their audiences. As Rebecca mentioned, the importance of information in the war cannot be overestimated. So a journalist and journalism itself in every country, in every situation, has one important mission: to help citizens take informed decisions. So you can imagine that how many decisions should be taken by every citizen when a war starts in your country, and how important journalism becomes. So our lesson learned is that journalism is actually critical infrastructure and should be considered as such. Second, I would focus on some key figures of how journalism sector changed, what it lost, and what he got actually in this wartime. You can see the numbers on the screen. These numbers are from our last research, because we are not only the conference, we are a team that is doing media support and media development, exchange of good practices between journalists on the international level, also does media research and analytics, psychological support of journalism, journalists working on the front line. And these numbers that you see on the screen are the numbers from our last research made for World Bank. And these numbers were included into the report on Ukraine's economy losses. I won't go through each of this number because you already have it in front of you. But what I want to mention is that for the first time in the history, based on the Ukrainian case, a World Bank considered media as a part of economy and included the losses of the media sector into the general losses of the country's economy. So what I want to say that we lost many media outlets, but we preserved journalism. And this is actually maybe one of the best outcomes in this situation, because journalism still plays a huge role in our resilience, in preserving democracy in Ukraine, in preserving transparency, as you see in the past weeks. And it means that the mission of journalism is still in place in Ukraine. The numbers of the needs, to how that we need to get to develop Ukrainian media sector is huge. You see almost 400 million euros are needed to recover the media sector in Ukraine. After the USAID withdrawal, we had this huge change in the media field that has worsened the state of Ukrainian media much more, because we lost, as a media society, we lost 2/3 of funding that cannot be replaced. And this sum is too high to be provided by any donors. So basically what I think is important, is vital to underline, is that businesses that governments who invest in reconstruction should consider supporting media at least, 0.5 or 1% of the money allocated to recovery and strategic investments should be directed to supporting media, because media are safeguarding transparency and democracy in each country. And I believe that it's very important to consider the case of Ukraine and Ukrainian media sector as a global lesson learned for other democracies as well, because from this case we took good results. We see how media are crucial to economic and social development of the country.
Thanks. Maybe also so a reminder. So the old media system in Ukraine was based on many private television channels, and they were all controlled by the oligarchs. This system disappeared, but oligarchy did not really disappear. So we are in an interim period, and everything what we are doing now in the media sector also serves in the reform process so if you want to be very blunt, in the fight against corruption and the old system. So another guest from Ukraine, and I met her now in most of the conferences I visited during the last years in Ukraine, is Maria Frei. Maria comes originally from Mariupol. She's 2 times displaced person. She is now in Lviv, and she belongs to the board of Suspilne. Suspilne is the public broadcaster in Ukraine. I remember the days when nobody wanted to listen or to watch Suspilne because it was a state-controlled, big old ship, from the old system. Nowadays, it's totally different. Suspilne, and I can quote one of our translators, Suspilne is, for example, here in Berlin for Ukrainians, very important source for news. And it's not only bringing everyday's news to an even international audience, it's doing it, according to Olena, it's doing it also in a very good language. So Maria Frei, Suspilne board.
Thank you so much. I also would like to use some slides, yes, thank you, with some important information about Suspilne. I would like to start that we're only 8 years old. Can you imagine the average age of European public broadcasters? It's more than 50 years. They are pretty strong. And maybe you heard about everything that they challenge right now through, but we are only 8 years old. So we started our work only in 2017, but it doesn't mean that the start of the real work was done only at that time. The first idea about Ukrainian public media was announced in 1989 in Lviv as well, as I already researched. Yes, and there was a need from the public to create a public media. And we struggle with this for so many years because we have to go through all of the Soviet law system, and we have to create a new system for public media. But at the same time, there was a huge demand for public media, public journalism in Ukraine. This is something that is very crucial because this is the answer for the question why there is no public media in Russia and Belarus. Because there is no public demand for this. And if we're talking about our budget and system of budget, we have a separate law to protect Ukrainian public media. We have a special bodies to protect independence of our journalists. But we still have some influences on financial system. You can see on this slide the information about our budget. And this also shown you, as you are from Germany, maybe you know the budget of your public media. It's the minimum budget that needed to survive. And you can see that the part of the funds that we have from international donors from 2022, right now it's become very, very low. And it still means that we struggle to do our work even with only national budget without any international support. What I would like also to mention here, just yesterday, day before yesterday, Russia targeted one of our regional offices. And you can see here a number of recovery that we need for all of the frontline offices. It's around 1 million euro, but it's without recovering our offices and building our offices and creating a team on timely occupied territories. Because Ukrainian public broadcasters company started already after the occupation. We have our 2 teams who work in exile. It's a Crimea team and Donbas team as well. And we can't imagine how we'll be able to come back to this territory, to open our offices and to work freely on these territories. I would like also tell you a little bit about the structure of public media. And can we please go to the next slide? Because Suspilne Ukraine is only one public media in Ukraine. We do not have regional public media. We do not have radio public or TV public. We are only one structure with all of the platforms. We have TV, radio, digital as well. And you can see some numbers that we succeed on, that we develop on, that we are working on right now. So we have more than 4,000 employees across the country. In every region, we have something like more than 50 to 80 people. We have exile team already mentioned about this. We have more than 1 billion viewers on YouTube channels. We have more than 15 million subscribers on our digital platforms. And we have more than 80% of trust to our news. So this is not only our work. This shows the huge demand from Ukrainian public to have an independent source of information. And right now, when we are explaining our purpose to our international companies and international teams, how we work with our audiences, we say that this is something that when you try to explain, is public media still relevant, still needed in European countries, you can ask them, will people go on the street to protect your company? Now in Ukraine, we know that people will go on the streets. The question for European colleagues, are you doing the job so good to be protected by the real people on the streets? I can tell more about the company and the team because I'm very proud of them, but maybe it's a good idea to pass the floor to others.
Thanks, Maria. Then we go into one region, Sumy region. Alona Yatsina is from Sumy, and she and her team are known for one of those miracles in wartime. They were able to create a new news platform in Sumy, Cordon Media. And to understand what they are doing and how it was possible, Alona has brought us a short video, and we would like to ask you to show the video now.
Всім привіт! Привіт! Це Кордон Медіа. Це Кордон Медіа.
Каби летять! Давай!
Hi, we're Cordon Media, an independent media outlet from Ukraine's Sumy region. We were born during the war in 2023 on the very edge of civilization, just 30 kilometers from the aggressor's border. For us, staying here, living and working at home is both an act of courage and a professional duty, even when it's dangerously close to the front line. And we'll keep doing it, no matter what. Amid explosions and constant shelling, we head to the border to film our stories. When Russia attacks the power grid, we write and edit in the dark, and we talk about pain. Even when it's our own, our team has endured enemy attacks multiple times. Blast waves have shattered windows in our homes and newsroom. Our war correspondent's apartment building was hit, and our videographer's car was damaged. Running a media outlet during wartime is a huge responsibility, and funding is often scarce. But we keep finding ways to move forward because our audience trusts us, and that trust is something we're deeply proud of. Despite everything, we continue to create original stories, reports, podcasts, and interviews. Our journalism truly matters. It doesn't just tell the truth, it helps people. Thanks to our stories, readers have offered homes to displaced families, bought equipment for firefighters, the only ones staying in border villages, and raised money to rebuild the house of a hero from one of our stories. Those are just a few examples. Cordon Media is on Telegram, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, sharing life from Ukraine's borderlands with the world. In these conditions, we don't just work, we live our mission every single day. We tell stories that give hope. We write about brave people who never lose their dignity. And we capture today before it becomes history. If our work resonates with you, you can learn more about us here.
So that was a short introduction about our everyday life. In 2023, me with my 3 friends, media friends, stay without workplace, and we talk about what we will do in our life. Before 2022, we know anyone about the war, but war coming to our home, and we must know and must do. So in 2023, we think about Sumy region stop in Ukraine, stop talking. So Sumy region come to information dark space. And of course, in all of another country too. And we think about we must create new media about Sumy region for talking about Sumy and Sumy region for all Ukraine and all of the world. So people need information in the middle of the war like air, because people may know what happened in our country, but people need to know what happened in native city, in native village, and in region, because it's about safety first. So we create this media, and what we do news, and we do underground reports, and we make 24 hours and 7 days of week work, because Sumy region have a longest border with Russia, and all of drones, missiles come from Sumy region in fly like about Sumy region to another Ukraine territory. And we talk about it all the time. And you know, war journalism, when you stay at home, it's not about talk with people who stay in region. It's about our region news is important for all country and sometimes for all world. In 2024, closer our border with Russia, Kursk operation was started. So Kursk operation, it's 7 kilometers from my grandma's house and 25 kilometers from Sumy city. Sumy city, it's 300,000 people. And 250,000 living here today in this city. So, and I'm sorry. In situation like Kursk operation, all of world and all of people in the world want to know what happened in your region and your city, and we must work harder, and we must work with all of colleagues from national medias and from another medias from who came from another countries for all of the world. So when territory coming to die, first time it's informational day. We don't need it, and we stay like informational soldiers at our home. So,
thanks a lot, Alona. I think what matters is, as I understand it, because of the exchange we have, is the cooperation and the exchange between those who work in Kyiv and those who work in the regions. It's kind of very different from what we have in Germany with national media, regional media, local media. There is much more necessity for cooperation and exchange, or am I wrong? Especially also for Suspilne.
Yes, you are totally right, because when you don't have local reporters, you can't explain what is going on the land. So this is the first and most crucial thing to support people who works on the land. This is something that we try to explain everywhere. And I would like just to tell you about the needs of people who are working there. We discussed it with Alona, and she said that I will not tell this, but I will do. Because if 1 year ago we struggle with an emotional support and mental support for our journalists, right now the request number one is how to protect themselves physically in the time of war of drones. So they don't need a mental support. They need a gun that will protect them using a net, and they need an equipment that will protect them and sign them that drones are here. And this is something that is very crucial right now. And we are not talking about only the front line. It's 100 kilometers from the front line. They can use drones on the huge amount of territory. And when we are talking about this loudly, that we need to physically protect our journalists, not only put press on their helmets, but to give them instruments of last hope to stay alive during their work, we are talking about very new approach, rethinking how we really protect journalists on frontline. And this is something that we are working on right now on Suspilne. We are trying to test this special gun, and we're trying to understand how to support our journalists, cameramen on the front line with these instruments. And someone will tell us that when your journalist is with a gun, he's becoming a real target for Russian troops. But they are real targets, even without a gun. So this has totally changed the situation, how we have to support people and journalists who are working on the field. And for our company, unfortunately, we have the biggest network of war correspondents. We have 10 frontline regions. All of the reporters from these regions, they should be ready to report from the places that were bombed. But yesterday, Chernobyl became a war region for us. So we have war reporters even in Zakarpattia, even in Uzhhorod region. And they have to be ready to start to report during the bombing, during the air alarms, and so on. Yes, as from our company, this is my personal responsibility as a member of the management board. I will explain this once again and again. We need to hear people from the field. We need to study from them how to survive in very difficult situations. And we need to support them and maybe scale their experience and their instruments for other regions as well.
I have one more question for Olga, because in Lviv, in the annual meetings, but also in the time in between, There are lots of discussions based on research and polls and how to, so in this terrible war years, not to forget to prepare for the future. So what are the main challenges you see to get through?
Yeah, thanks for this question, because, you know, every war is a struggle for the future, whether we will have this future or not. And as we struggle still, you know, and resist this attack from Russia, we believe that we have the future. So thinking about the future is my favorite, the favorite part of my work for me and my team. And when we think about the crisis, it's also always a chance to change something very quickly and very efficiently. Lack of resource is, as I also previously mentioned, is a background for it. And when you are lacking resource, you are always very creative. So, especially now after this USAID withdrawal, I see how it's important to think about future scenarios. So, from what I experienced, and me and my colleagues, is that for Ukrainian media, now is the best time to innovate. I liked this story about Suspilne, and I want to mention that cooperation is truly a must in the work conditions. I remember I visited Kyiv region right after the occupation of part of the Kharkiv Oblast. And local journalists told me a story how they cooperate with each other on producing content from the occupied territories. Those territories are always very hard to reach. You cannot easily go there. So they combine their resources. Few local media combine their resources. One media outlet provided a vehicle with a driver, another a photographer, and a journalist from a third media outlet also joined the team. There was a fourth media outlet who provided fuel, like benzene. Yeah. So they did this for a long time. And they shared the materials between the media outlets, and that was their way to inform their audiences when they truly didn't have enough resource for it. So in this crisis that we have after January this year, when we lost majority of funding, I also see many ways to innovate. And this is also a field for not only for media outlets, but also for donors and media support organizations like we are, to consider other solutions for the media market. For now, I would say that we truly need more coordination for the sake of our beneficiaries, who are the media outlets working in such tough conditions as Maria described. I also would say it, and it might sound weird, that crisis response is outdated for now. No more crisis response for Ukrainian media outlets. We have to consider strategic path to innovate and to change the whole market. For the moment when the political process and elections are back in Ukraine, to strengthen the capacity of independent and quality media to provide their audiences with trustful information. Otherwise, as soon as the oligarchs get back to the political process, we will lose all those all those achievements that we have now on the table. So it means that the time has come to support those who are capable, no matter how big a media outlet is. It could be a team of 3 people, of 5 people that are capable enough to inform their audiences, that have also a clear vision of their mission, a clear understanding of what is the desired result of their work. There could be also a media outlet working on a national level, but the time has come to support capacity and to increase it, because and also to support quality media in enhancing their impact on the audiences. Otherwise, social media, malign actors and oligarchs would just conquer our informational space, and it's a true threat to democracy, much bigger than just one state is. So I do believe that also that we have to stay united in it, beyond borders, to develop solutions that protect quality journalism, not in a separate country, in isolation, but across borders in the whole democratic world.
So my last question for Alona. So Russian propaganda and organized disinformation is also discussed sometimes in Germany, but in Ukraine, it's also an ongoing challenge for journalists.
You know, it's not main challenge for us, yes, but it is. Russian propaganda was yesterday, tomorrow, and will be always with us. Of course, some topics we talk about for our audience, it's propaganda, it's not right, yes, but we can't have reaction for every propaganda message, because we became like anti-propaganda media. It's not interesting for people. We focused on truth, and we talk about what really happened. And we have good check-in process, check all this information, and people in Ukraine and our colleague believe us, and they know we talk about reality, not about propaganda. It's hard in the middle of the war, but we can do it.
Can I just jump in? Because I think that Russian disinformation is the biggest threat for European Union right now. So, and the question should be here, what European Union are doing with Russian disinformation, with all of the Russian influences, with all of the Russian signs that I can see on the streets of Berlin, all of the Russian cuisine, all of the Russian books, all of the Russian fairy tales, my favorite topic, all of the translated Russian cartoon movies for international audience. And yes, I think that European Union should be more proactive on this. And the other threats that we do not like to talk about is about big tech. Big tech are influencing who will see something on their phones. There is no personal desire and personal decision. You can be very smart, very intelligent person, but big tech will decide what you will see in your news, on your Instagram, what will you buy after seeing this, and how will you vote on the election. So I do think that a question about the Russian influence and Russian disinformation should be raised here in Europe even more, with a very high attention to this. because in Ukraine it's a part of our life. But for Europe it's, I don't know, tell me how you survive
Maybe
with this.
so it's, we should not talk now too much on Russian disinformation. Sorry for bringing up this issue. I think thanks to Ukrainian experience, on the European level, the discussion how to create resilience against this began so around 2013-14 already. But the difficult situation is that each and every member state is a different target and is targeted a bit in a different way and in a different language also. So therefore, the real response has also to be found on the national level. Germany is trying to get better, but lots of things to do. But before we are drowning now in the disinformation debate, let's turn to the audience and get some questions to our three voices from Ukraine. Please, we have a foreign policy correspondent.
Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, my name is Paul Hawkins. I'm a correspondent for Foreign Policy magazine, and I've been covering the war in Ukraine for 11 years. I read every single day one of the English language media outlets out of Ukraine, and it's really good, and I'm really impressed with its coverage. But nevertheless, if I only read it, I might think that Ukraine was winning this war, and pretty easily. Or at the very least, that every day it was giving out as good as it got. You must be faced every day with not just, as Olga says, with the truth, but also about how you are reporting things to a country that is under siege, that is at war, that morale has to be kept up as well. That must go into your thoughts in every picture that you publish and every sentence that you write. It's the case anywhere when there's a war. Can you give us a little bit more insight into that, how that for you is an issue, if you think it is?
No? No?
Yeah.
No. Okay. I'm Andreas Witkowski. I'm working with the Center for International Peace Operations here in Berlin, and I have two questions. The one is, I mean, you said the media companies suffered a lot, but journalism survived. And then you said sort of that with sort of closing down USAID, sort of like 2/3 of the funds have been lost, but you say it's time for innovation, cooperation, and so on and so on. I think that's all fine, but I still wonder sort of, what is your experience? How can you finance that sort of beyond USAID? What are your experiences sort of where can you actually sort of generate the funds sort of to pay journalists? And then the second question, sorry for fueling into the disinformation debate, but you're completely right what you see, and what is even worse, there are too many people sort of that have already internalized sort of these Russian thoughts. Are there any lessons that you want to tell us how to deal with these types of disinformation? Thank you.
So I think enough questions for the first round. Who starts? Olga?
Yeah, I can start. Thank you for your questions. As for the first one, I think that it's very important part of the job of journalists to face the truth and to tell the truth. And that's actually what many Ukrainian media do, but still it's always a challenge. When you are at war, you have to wear different hats. You have to be a citizen, you have to be a journalist, you have to be a father or a mother, what I mentioned, and sometimes you have to choose. But I also want to mention one case from the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, when our colleagues from the Kyiv Independent, the Ukrainian English-speaking publication, they published an investigative report on misconduct in the international legion, like the authorities in this legion. So I know that the team had a hard time to decide whether to publish this report or not. And they decided to go for it, to publish it, to discuss it with their audiences. I asked them privately, like, how did you take this decision? What were your thoughts about it? And they said to me, Olga, we, in the first days of the full-scale invasion, we published actually a call for foreign community to help Ukraine and also to join the Ukrainian army to resist the Russian invasion. And we felt that this was our duty to report also on this misconduct. So they shared with me that they don't regret, and if I were them, I would also support them in this. So I truly believe that facing the truth and telling the truth makes you, like, helps you and your audience take right decisions. That's what I constantly rely on. As for the second question, what are the possible solutions? First of all, many media outlets started talking more directly to their audiences. Support us or we will die. For a country with this post-Soviet mindset that information is not a service, it's not a good. So, like, people need information, but they don't consider this a service that should be paid. I see that there is some certain change at this point, that audiences, especially those like capable people, part of creative sector, IT sector, they responded to this call. So media, especially those local media, started this membership model, where they have a community of people that support them with a tiny amount of money, but constantly, month by month. The second, the second solution is that businesses and investors must consider media sector as the critical infrastructure supporting their investments. And I do believe that we have to advocate for more conscious investment. When you invest in some economic projects, you should also allocate a certain amount of money to support media, because media are the infrastructure that supports transparency and economic freedom.
Yeah, I can continue. We do have some protocol, security protocol. As you're working in Ukraine for 11 years, you maybe know that some security protocols about the reporting from the destroyed places have to be on time, and you have to think about this. But we do not have English version of our website, so this is not that you're talking of, but we will have it during the next years, because the demand for one use in Europe is crucial, and we understand that it could be even our new way of monetization of content. But at the same time, I would like to say that we were a part of the national marathon. Yes. At the very beginning of a full-scale invasion, I can say that it was one of the good solutions, because when you have all of the country that are moving from the dangerous region to another regions, you can't provide informational broadcasting 24/7. But after 1 year, we all understand that information marathon is not needed anymore for the audiences. Because we have a lot of sources of information, very different one. Now we have very open society, and you can find news everywhere you want. And Ukrainian public media, we went out from the marathon, and right now we have our own informational broadcasting 24/7. But at the same time, government, they use this right now, this marathon that they have, not as a one voice as it was before. We all can see it. But at the same time, you can hear about all of the anti-corruption investigation that we have from Ukrainian voices. And it's crucial to understand that journalists in Ukraine, they are working on every sensitive topic that we have right now. And for example, in our team, in our company, we have editors meeting where they can freely discuss whether it's okay or not, and which angle, how can we highlight the topic of mobilization processes, knowing that Russia will use it as the instrument to make Ukrainians fight between themselves. Yes, we have these meetings, we have this discussion, we are talking about this, and as I'm not a journalist anymore, I am media manager, I have to give this, I don't know, voice to editors. There's their decision to do it at this moment of time or another one. So I can't say that we have a censorship right now. It's not true. Everyone can say anything in Ukraine. And we are talking about very, very sensitive topics. And I hope that in 1 year you will be able to read all of the news from our website as well.
Maybe also, Alona, on this question. So is only victory-oriented reporting possible?
I don't believe in absolutely victory, but I hope. So about questions, we regional media, but we talk about region for all of world, how we do it. We work with another media, so any German media can come to Sumy region and work with us like fixers and talk about topics, what's happened. And we stay in touch with some big agency like Associated Press, like Getty Images or something like this. And after, I think, 2 or 3 hours, photo and video from some happen in Sumy region are in these resources, and all of colleagues in the world can take it and talk about it, and it's not a problem. And a little bit about money and disinformation. About money. In our region, we haven't business, we haven't economica, we haven't money. So we can't work like usual media make money model, you know. So we need donors now, and I think some years after the war stop, I hope victory. And only this variant. We haven't any another. Of course, we have a little bit % with from Getty Images or something like this, but it's not about money for media. And about disinformation, I talked about information. It's like air for people. So information is a gun too. And Russian information all is propaganda. Russian culture, it's propaganda. So Russian people, it's not democratic people. And all of they do, it's propaganda in information air. It's a gun. So how European people can stop it? Maybe it's hard, but you know, first drone or missiles It's like first aid emergency for European people from Russia propaganda.
I will join this answer about how to our lessons learned about misinformation, disinformation. It's to have your own eyes on the land. So I just continue this, that you have to have people on the ground whom you can trust, whom you can support. And that is, thanks to this, you will have correct information. And one quote from my brilliant friend, he said, on one of the international meetings, he said that if something looks like Russian propaganda, smells like Russian propaganda, it's totally Russian propaganda.
So I think Ukrainians are already convinced. I had a question first by Mattia Nellis. Am I allowed to take 2 questions? Okay, then in the 3rd row again.
Hello, yeah. Good afternoon, Mattia Nellis. Thank you so much for your work and this interesting panel. You're true heroes for me in the best meaning, because you continue your work and this really deserves an applause. So I wanted to ask Maria about telemarathon, and you started speaking about it. So there is, you said in Suspilne you're no longer part of the telemarathon, the teleton, but and you said at Suspilne there is no censorship, and I truly want to emphasize this. But with the telemarathon there is a lot of omission. You know, when we look and analyze a lot how the media and the telemarathon in particular cover scandals, like the recent corruption scandal, and they cover it by omitting a lot of the things or not talking about it at all. So I wanted to ask a little bit about that how you think the omission works, you know, and actually how many people are still watching the telemarathon, and what is the role of other channels, you know, the media consumption side. I know the Lviv Media Forum also investigated this, how many people are getting their information through Telegram channels, anonymous Telegram channels. And the last question related to that part is there's a lot of attacks by anonymous media channel, Telegram channels on institutions, on activists, on independent media. So how do you view that? How is it working? How is it undermining your trust in Lviv Media Forum and Suspilne, or the trust in, say, institutions like Nabu Sapu or independent activists? So how is the media, the dirt, how is that working, and how do you counter it? Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great question. Yes. Yeah. One more? Okay.
Hello, yeah, my name is Christoph Müller. I have a YouTube channel which is called Talk for Ukraine since a year about, and I would like to address to Maria and also to Alona. To all three. Ola also. It's about your impression that you had here in Berlin, that you saw a lot of Russian stuff floating around, and you, Alona, said that this is the Russian propaganda. It's a weapon. And my question is, we here in Germany, obviously, from my point of view, haven't really got that understood. And so, Rebecca is already, I don't make it long, sorry. What advice would you give our German media? I just want to tell that in our TV shows there is a lot of propagandists and people telling Russian propaganda in German television, and they call it discussion. And what is your advice? What is your advice to us in Germany and in Europe for that?
Great question.
Please advise.
Okay, let's start with that one about the trust on Teleton. We saw that year by year the trust on the Teleton is decreasing, is becoming low and low. But at the same time, they use this platform to tell something that they want to tell. And the solution about this, this telemarathon, it exists because of the martial law, because this is a part of informational security policies. And there's something that we want to raise a question for the international audiences, is to push on our government to change this part, because we don't need it anymore. If we will have face the same situation as at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, be sure that we will unite again. because we already went through this. So if you are somehow can influence on this, this is something that we really would like to have in Ukraine right now, because it's a part of our national shame, this product, and we don't want to have it. So, yeah. As we're talking with this, and give the floor to Olga, because she's the person who once introduced me with very interesting idea about the Telegram, on Odnoklassniki, and other thing. Olga, please.
Yeah, you know, I really, I often get the questions about the role of Telegram, and responding to those questions, I realized that there is a hidden reality that it's not known across the world. So I will name you several platforms, and those who are not living in Ukraine and don't hold Ukrainian passport, please respond how often you used those channels in your lifetime. Одноклассники, ВКонтакте, Viber. Okay, with Viber better. So now Telegram. Okay, with Telegram they succeeded much more. So the platforms that I named you were created or co-created or backed up by Russians. And those have been and are the main platforms for Ukrainians to communicate. Like you use WhatsApp, now a bit of Signal. And it means that for Russian government, Odnoklassniki and ВКонтакте, these were late 90s, early 200 something. And the outreach of those platforms in Ukraine and all, I don't like the word, but post-Soviet area was about 90%. I've never installed Odnoklassniki at ВКонтакте, but I was considered as a crazy person. You know, I never was easy to a person that was easy to contact with. So you can imagine the tons of money were invested by Russian government to keep the population of post-Soviet countries under control. And people in Ukraine still, in most cases, don't use WhatsApp. So just imagine the scale of the influence. They get everything. They get our personal data. They get information from our phones, not only related to using these applications. So if Telegram influences Ukrainian society, yes, it does. And because of most of you raised your hands when I asked about Telegram, please think about it. That's my response.
Yeah. I was in Berlin in 2022, and by now it's much better Berlin. Really?
So the situation improved regarding
a little bit, but yeah. And about devices. So I thinking about it, and I think maybe journalists must stop guest talking and saying it's Russian propaganda, like red flag, you know? Maybe something like this. And second advice, journalism and journalists and bloggers in Germany must preparing for war now. And we can learn from our experience And I think we can help our colleagues, and it's not a joke.
May I jump in? I recently was asked how, like, by a foreign journalist, how we can help Ukraine and Ukrainian media right now. And my response was, prepare your society to tough times. Like, for sure, we are dependent on Western money right now. But the best way to help Ukraine is to talk to your society as adults and prepare them for hard times. And also, like, to be honest with ourselves. I'm in Germany, and I want to illustrate also to add to the response to the question about Russian culture. I want to underline that there is no culture beyond politics. There is no culture beyond politics. Culture always serves politics. And it is the main tool to deliver messages to people. So beware what messages are delivered to your societies by culture beyond politics, that is labeled culture beyond politics. And you know, maybe my toughest experiences of talking to foreigners, they are connected with German partners. So maybe the request that I got most often was, why don't you talk to good Russians in exile? There is like a need for a dialogue, and I find it hard to explain why don't we do this. But once I asked, it was a German politician. I asked her whether those Russians that we have to talk to feel responsibility for what's happening now in Ukraine. She said, no, they are not responsible. Okay, I said, okay. And my next question was, do they have agency? What would they change after we agree on something? Like, I can talk to a minister, maybe not directly, but I can easily reach out any minister to deliver some message. And I believe we have in Ukraine enough platforms to talk to our government. And what would those people do? They would do nothing. So we are in a situation where we have no subject to discuss. Responsibility is not a subject that they would like to discuss. And also, like, what would we do in the future with this? And there is nobody to talk to deliver some change, because the dialogue has to deliver some change. So this is actually our problem. If we are presented a person who takes decisions, we can talk to them. If not, then not. So this is actually our main struggle beyond the battlefield, to be understood and to be valued for our position, and maybe to deliver our image of the reality if talking to people outside Ukraine.
So thanks, Olga. It's a very difficult topic, especially here in Berlin, but as my friend Karl Schlögel put it recently, We have in Germany many, many Germans who are these famous Russlandversteher, but we have only few who understand Russisch, who understand Russian, and therefore we are very, very often misled and drowning in our own discussions. I thank the three of you. I think as takeaways from this panel, if we have journalists or media present here from the German media landscape, so it's not necessary to conclude news, actual news from Ukraine, daily news from Ukraine, with the sentence, these news cannot be independently confirmed. You can find on the ground dozens, hundreds of journalists who you can contact if you need confirmation you can trust. And this I really would like to change. I hate this moment in Deutschlandfunk when I get the news of a bombardment and then they finish with cannot be independently confirmed. So here we can offer the context. Then for the disinformation and the necessary battle against it, I think there was one very good decision on a post in Germany, high-level post. The new director of Bundesnachrichtendienst is the former ambassador to Ukraine, German ambassador to Ukraine, Mr. Jäger. And in his first press conference, he underlined the necessity to fight in this war on information, and he has now got a good preparation during the years in Kyiv. So it's, from my point of view, a very good news for this long-lasting battle. And on victory, let me conclude this panel with Ukraine's stance. The nation is not giving up. So the major goal of Russia in this war, it's not feasible. And that's, from my point of view, the victory thanks to the soldiers and many, many citizens of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini, see you in the coffee.